we saw as it pertains to mental illness, but the possibility of what else could be happening as it pertains to human trafficking and being able to look at it with a 360 view. So with that, I commend you, and I am sure that you're going to find some things that are in the shadows, and I am also sure that you are going to do all the training. You are going to make sure that nonprofits are assisting you in the victims that you may uncover. So with that, sir, I commend you.
Okay, thank you very much. So before I open for questions, again, as I stated, there will be a number of different matters we'll be looking at. I ask the public, if you see something, say something. The vast majority of this country, it involves law-abiding citizens who want to make a difference. Others who prefer to bury their heads in the sand and pretend it is not a problem, well then I pity you on that. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, we would investigate these matters of all institutions, be it kidnapping, false imprisonment, fraud, and other, and again looking at the laws under the Mental Health Act, the Private Hospitals Act, assaults in varying degrees against the offences against the Persons Act and Summary Offences Act, as well as the Occupational Act and the Safety Act. Take care of our elderly, those who are mentally challenged, our children. Take care of the citizens of this country. Members of the media, open now to questions.
All right. Please be reminded we are strapped for time, so please identify yourself when you meet the house. Let's make the questions brief.
Afternoon, Commissioner. Well, you've already introduced me. I'll reintroduce myself. Keyshawn Haynes, TV6. On behalf of my station, let me just say from the outset that nobody is condoning the conditions that they were found. We had issue with your use of the term human trafficking.
But I think I just educated you too.
And as we can see by this, you stand by that too. Right.
But you don't. So you still feel human trafficking is the Liam Neeson movies from Taken. I just want to educate you so you'll understand the meaning of human trafficking, that's all.
We are strapped for time. May I ask my question?
Yeah, I'm here to educate you.
All right, Mr. Commissioner. So the obvious question is, if this is, in your words, the largest human trafficking ring ever uncovered in the country, how soon can we expect charges? It's my understanding that the pastor was out the same night. Everything is back to normal as far as his church. He is back out. How soon can we expect charges of specifically human trafficking against Pastor Awang?
Okay, I can have DCP Ford answer because there's something called an investigation, and there are a number of matters here we are investigating. We have 69 persons. Each and every individual has a different story, has a different concern, some of the family members, and it varies from a number of different matters that we are dealing with and liaising on a daily basis with the DPP. So I can ask Mr. Ford. Mr. Ford, just come forward. To the podium. Yes, to the podium, please.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon, other members of the head table. Good afternoon, members of the press present. Mr. Haynes, I would really like to tell you that by midnight tonight, you can charge all who are culpable. However, you would appreciate that we have an ongoing investigation. And as the Commissioner has said, there are a lot of moving parts. And you want to get it right. We are conferring with the Deputy, with the Director of Public Prosecutions. We have a team that has been assigned to conduct this investigation. And as soon as we have enough that we can share with you all, we will share with you all. But the thing is that we are moving assiduously to charge anyone who is culpable for this hideous act that was perpetrated upon us.
Okay.
Yes, Rise Express newspapers. Have all the 69 people who will
Mr. Ford,
taken from the facility, or as you deem rescued from the facility, have they all been questioned, interviewed, and what is the status of them? Where are they now?
Okay. The persons who were removed from that facility, as you know, some of them had some mental health issues, and there's a process where they had to be medically examined. That process continues, and as they're examined and the police officers get the green light, we will be interviewing persons. We have interviewed several persons, we have gathered a lot of evidence, but the investigations continue, and we will investigate and we will question the people as we go forward.
Okay, any other? I would like to spread it around so that each person would, could ask at least one question, if you do.
Hi, good day, Mr. Commissioner. Shane Smover from the Newsday newspaper here. Closing off the introduction you gave us there, you told the public, if you see something, say something. I think, well, from some of the relatives of the patients at the facility that I have spoken to, they said while they were aware that there was some sort of rehabilitation going on, they were largely ignorant of the cells and the handcuffs and so on.
That is true.
What advice would you give to people who have relatives suffering with mental illnesses and substance abuse issues, going forward trying to find a facility to give them care, that they're also not having something like this hidden away from them?
Good question. And this is what I will ask all family members. What we are picking up is many of the family members, they were not aware of the cages and how the individuals were treated. Where it is we have reports of individuals, tasers were used on them, batons, also there were shackles on beds. And the family members, when they went to visit their loved ones, these things were not seen. So what I would recommend strongly with all family members, you need to make full use and visit and have a thorough investigation of the surroundings at all times, and not just look at the cosmetic part that you may just see. As it pertains to that, again, there will be an app that will be coming out shortly from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service to assist the public in giving information in real time without any fear of reprisal. And I would also like to take this opportunity to just clarify another matter that we saw on The Guardian recently, where it spoke about social spies. I would like to clarify the introduction of the social media monitoring unit. In contrast to the misinterpretation by some, this is not to macko people. The fact of the matter is that the social media monitoring unit, this is something that is used worldwide. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, because of the MOU we have with the NYPD, I actually looked at the social media monitoring unit. This is something that is used in most police departments around the world. And this is not in breach of the Interception of Communication Act. We are not breaking any law. What this unit will be doing, in fact, is actually seeing what anyone could see on Facebook, social media. So it is something that you're seeing that is in the public. What this can do, this is going to assist us greatly in dealing with just a few matters that could be of concern to this country that we never took seriously in the past, which is child pornography, child prostitution, human trafficking by ads, terrorist recruitment, gang recruitment, tips when persons make comments to solve a crime, info to prevent a crime that may about to take place, and a number of other matters. That is the importance of the social media monitoring unit.
All right, we'll take a final question from Mr. Basant.
I give Commissioner Mark Besant, Lead Editor of the Investigative Desk at Guardian Media Limited. Some of the victims who would have given information to you all, who have spoken with personally and continue to speak with several other victims, they have expressed fear for their lives based on the information that they have given and continue to give. What conditions are put in place to ensure that they are safe?
Yeah, well, in contrast to some who said that all is right with the world and this was much ado about nothing, we actually have a few persons under witness protection right now that we are having them properly secured because of the information that they have brought to us. This is a much bigger picture, and I intend to spread it as much as possible, because even if certain family members are fully aware of what it is that that individuals had to endure, they themselves may become culpable. So we are also looking at that to assist the individuals who might be very vital in providing information to us at this time.
Of course, you had mentioned the possible involvement of some police officers who might have been cognizant of this happening in that particular division and maybe across the country. How far along have you all started the investigation through the PSB in relation to those specific officers?
Yes, we have ignited it through the Professional Standards Bureau, and they are actually looking to ensure that this was based possibly on not good policing, rather than the police actually be aiding and abetting and being involved in a situation like this. As I stated, there's no individual citizen in this country that is above the law, but at the same time, we are not here to witch hunt. I am not going to allow any organization, any individual to take advantage of any other citizen in this country and use their advantage to break the law. Anything you'd like to say?
Again, I appeal to families, and I think we need, when we now have this collaborative effort in public awareness, raising that public awareness for family members, because what we discovered as well, some of the families, out of love, didn't know that their very acts were ones of abuse, in the way that they were manhandling or shouting or bawling at them and, putting them in a corner, not following up to see if they had a meal and so. So it's a level of ignorance as well. So we really have to educate and sensitize the public because we are an aging population. That is not going to reverse in a very long while. By 2025, we should be 17% of our population, 17.5 that is old. That is a lot of people. And that we have, so I agree with him, I commend him, and I always kept saying we need to go door to door because many of the cases underreported as well. So we have to find where these persons are, as well as persons who are now, not only persons with disability, but who are now old. So it's like a double whammy. They have comorbidities, and we have to find where they are. And this is also linked to another arm under the national security called the ODPM. Because even when you have to evacuate, like how we see the evacuation and raising awareness when it is disaster preparedness, when the climate change, we have to understand that even when we have to get shelters for the elderly, and even those elderly who have dementia, they are not to be placed in the same shelter with everybody else because they need different amenities and facilities. So this is the start of a long host of things that have to come. It's like a whole suite of services that have to be administered to this group and other vulnerable groups. Thank you so much.
Commissioner, while we understand your justification in using the terms human trafficking and so forth, did you consider perhaps the use of these terms with the international media and so forth? Could this have far-reaching effects on this country in terms of tourism and the human trafficking report or whatsoever?
Okay, Robert, would you like, it seems that we have to say it for the fourth time, would you explain the meaning of trafficking internationally in line with what we saw? It seems like we have to say it slowly for them to understand.
Yes, Commissioner. It's extremely important to understand that what we have seen in Trinidad and Tobago these last couple of weeks is completely in line with what we're seeing around the world globally. In the United States, organizations that are on the front designed to offer resources and services are taking advantage of children, of adults, of elderly, because they are involved in an organized crime process of facilitating human trafficking. And it's because of the appetite that's out there, that's promulgated by the internet, social media, and the advantage or the disadvantage that children have to defend themselves against these exploitations. This is what we're seeing around the world globally. If you connect with, and we have, myself and Dr. Powell have connected with Interpol and Europol, they are seeing this around the world. And just what we're seeing in Trinidad and Tobago. And this is what Dr. Powell and myself have been sharing with the TTPS for the last several months. Because it's a problem that hides in plain sight, a lot of things can be missed. And that's why the education piece for all entities who will interface with this problem is extremely important.
And therein lies the problem. We feel to solve a problem is just to ignore the problem. This is something that is international. It is global. Trinidad and Tobago is part of the globe. By burying our heads in the sand and pretending that what we saw did not take place, I didn't cause the problem. I exposed the problem. And I'm here to assist in rectifying the problem, which is why I have the individuals here to show that this is an issue. But people we seem concerned about us exposing the truth. Well, the truth hurts. And probably it is what it is. You can't handle the truth. Well, that is it. And we need to face the truth, face reality, and understand that if we spend all of the time putting focus on the meaning of trafficking instead of making emphasis on putting the focus on trying to deal with a serious problem that is affecting the elderly, affecting mentally challenged persons in this country, affecting children, but we want to spend all our time trying to understand the meaning of trafficking. We need to put our emphasis where it matters.
Okay. Ms. Powell?
Yes, Ms. Powell.
I just wanted to add one thing. Even in the United States, we're flying this plane and fixing it at the same time. It really is not that easy. Globally, you know, we struggle with identifying human trafficking, again, like Mr. Clark said, it hiding in plain sight. I think what's most important is to understand that traffickers will go after those that they see as vulnerable. And that is what you're exposing right now, is having this conversation about seeing people in their most vulnerable states possibly being preyed upon. And I think that's so important for everyone to understand, especially when we talk about see something, say something. And again, I think it's also important that those families may not have known a situation that their family members may have been involved in, but who did know were the people that put them in those cages.
Okay.
On that and ask exactly how many, because the report seemed that all 69 were in cages.
No, that is incorrect.
Can you say exactly how many were?
I wouldn't want, there were probably I don't know, about 20 odd that they're doing cages, and some of them very calm, very quiet, elderly ladies crying and saying that they've been in there for 2 years and they can't get out. An individual who actually stated that he was handcuffed in the public. He was brought into the location. He has reports of persons using tasers. He was forced to sign documents. So, no, I will not be. Now we are going into technicalities. I cannot and would not reveal matters that are being investigated. So, Mr. Chandler?
Yeah. I just want to expand on something, Commissioner, just because based on the last question that you fielded, there seems to be a perception that trafficking in its interpretation is limited. And I think that is the issue, and that is the conversation that the Commissioner is having here, that look, trafficking is more than what the general disposition seems to be. It envisages a lot of things, exploitation, and that is why the lawmakers, Parliament, in its infinite wisdom, would have set out in its interpretation section what exploitation is. And exploitation goes in depth into what they envisage. So, for instance, when we talk about keeping a person in a state of slavery and subjecting them to similar practices, and just taking advantage of people generally, the vulnerability, as Dr. Paul would have alluded to. So we must understand the context in which the term is being used. It's not being used loosely. It's being used in a legitimate way. The Commission is actually quoting what the law is. But the problem is people aren't aware. And so we are now sensitizing persons as to what exactly the law is and what trafficking involves.
What's the difference between trafficking and kidnapping?
Trafficking and kidnapping. Kidnapping would involve at times a demand for a ransom. Kidnapping is you're holding the person, you're holding the person against their will and that sort of thing. In trafficking, not in all instances, they would be there voluntarily, but for a particular reason. So there are certain differences in the matrices.
Like in, for example, slavery. Slavery is not just what it is we experienced 200 years ago. It can involve an individual who is confined, he's not receiving remuneration, and someone may actually be benefiting from that financially. And that is an... The individual?
For in the interview that you did with a Jamaican radio station, they said that they were doing chores as part of their living arrangements.
No,
is that what you consider slavery?
Well, the thing is, they didn't speak to 69 persons, and that's why I said each and every investigation will be isolated, will be a different person, and when you do the investigation, it will be different.
How long was your investigation? I got your information from a member of the media. How long was your investigation before you decided to raid?
And I wish to thank that member of the media, because that is what you call proactivity, that is what you call professionalism, not trying to justify wrongdoing. Akishan?
But the question is, how long between this investigation was going on?
I'm not going into details. I'm not going into details of intelligence gathering. You want to be a James Bond?
Okay, Mr. Hayes.
Right? You want to be a James Bond? Go on.
So in July, there was a raid at a bar in Colombia where 21 persons were arrested, including the owner of the bar. Can you give us an update?
No, this interview is just solely based on this. I'll deal with that another time. Yeah, I know it, but.
All right, that's it, sir.
That's it.
We want to take this opportunity to thank our guests, Dr. Jennifer Rose, Mr. Robert Clark, and Ms. Stephanie Powell. Thank you very much. Mr. Chandler, thank you very much for your insight. Commissioner of Police, thank you very much. Members of the media, thank you very much for gracing us with your presence. We'll see you on another date. Thank you very much.